and welcome. My name is Jocelyn and today we are going to be choosing the palettes that I will be using for the month of June. I'm going to go over the palettes that I used last month real fast just to kind of rank them from least used to most used. And then with the help of Google's random number generator, we are going to generate another 5 palettes to use for the month of June. Out of my 47 palettes, I may choose to pull in another one. If I do, then I will do that during my Shop My Stash, which should be the next video on this channel. But to start, we're gonna go over the 5 palettes that were chosen for me and the one that I chose for myself to use for the month of May and how often I used them and rank them. I already said it. Okay. So surprisingly, the one that I used the least, I only used once, and it's one of my favorite palettes, but for this time of year, it's just not my favorite color story to use. And it's this palette right here. This is the Dose of Colors Blushing Berries palette. It's a bunch of berry tones, blushing berries, exactly what it sounds like. And I love this palette during the fall and winter time, but it's just not quite my jam during the springtime. So I did use it once. I think I just used these 2 shades over here. The not weird thing, but the thing about this month that was kind of different than previous months is I mixed and matched a lot of the palettes. There wasn't a lot of times where I pulled for just one palette to create an eye look with. I would pull like 1 from here, 2 from there, 1 from there kind of situation. So most of the palettes I did that with. This one, same thing. I mixed these 2 shades with a shimmer shade from a different palette, and I mean the look was pretty. It's just not my vibe this time of year, so I only used it once. This next one was right up there with only being used once until today. And I used it today because I wanted to go for this kind of orangey look. And it is this palette right here. This is the Kaleidos Futurism VR Neon palette. This is what the inside looks like. So we have a bunch of neon colors in here. And clearly today, you can see I used the orange shade in here. The other color that I used from in here was the yellow one. I wanted to do a pop of yellow in the inner corner for a look one day, and I did that. This isn't my favorite yellow. I don't really love the pigmentation of it, so I ended up having to go into another yellow in my collection and kind of brighten it up a little bit. The orange though, I do really love the orange in this palette. I didn't use the shimmer shades in this palette, but I do remember them being really, really good too. So the next 3 palettes are kind of all along the same vein. I mixed and matched them between each other and with other palettes or other shadows that I was using this last month. It's kind of hard to tell between the next 3 which one I used the most and the least, but I think this one I used like the 3rd most, so right in the middle. And this is my ColourPop Single Shadows and Sydney Grace Single Shadows. I did create a look with some of these really pretty blue-green colors over here, and it was really nice. I created a couple looks with some of the more neutral shades. I pulled for a lot of these matte neutral shades quite a bit and paired them with other shimmer shades. I did use, I think this is Snake Eyes. Yeah, Snake Eyes from ColourPop. This shimmer shade right here, I did use that a couple times. Really love that shade. It's very, very pretty. I love single shades. I love Sydney Grace and ColourPop Single Shadow Formula. So definitely glad this got pulled in for me again, but I didn't use it as much as I was expecting to, but I did use it more this month than the first time that it was pulled in this year. And then the next 2 are also kind of the same. I pulled a couple shades here and there, but I think this one I used a little bit less than the next one. And it is the Tartelette in Bloom palette by Tarte, of course. It's the super neutral palette, and I used a handful. So first of all, today, for example, I used the shade Charmer all over the lid, and I just put the orange shade from the Kaleidos palette in my outer corner, and that's it, except for the inner corner where I used a glitter shade. But I pulled for not the shimmers. I don't think I used the shimmers in this palette at all, but I did use quite a bit of these matte shades right here, and this one I guess over here. So a lot of matte shades I used from this palette and combined with shimmer shadows from throughout my collection. I didn't use this one too much, but this next one, the ColourPop Going Coconuts palette, I did use this quite a bit. I used quite a bit of the matte shades. It's primarily these two transition shades in here. I used Cocoa Crush, which is this middle shimmer shade, quite a few times. I also used Get Crackin' a little bit, and what is that, De Coco. So I used this one actually quite a bit. Out of all the ones that were chosen for me, this is the one that I reached for the most this last month, and I really liked it. I really like this palette a lot. If you are a neutral lover and you purchase from ColourPop, then I would highly recommend this palette if you don't already have it in your collection, because it's really great. And the one that I think I used the most, which I'm glad that I got good use out of this because I recently bought it and I wanted to give it a good shot and give a lot of the shadows in this a try. This is the one, again, that I chose for myself. This is the Mercury Retrograde by Huda Beauty, and this is what the inside looks like. I used a lot of shades in here. I think almost everything. I don't think I touched every single shadow in this palette, but I did use quite a few of them, and I was very happy, very pleased with the formula of I think everything in this palette. I really love this. I'm so happy that I finally picked this up during the last Sephora VIB sale. It was on sale itself, and then I got 20% off on top of that, so definitely a really great deal. And if you've had your eyes on this, I would recommend it. I think the formula is so good. There's such a variety of colors in here, lots of neutrals, but also lots of colorful shades. We've got blues, we've got purples, pinks, neutral colors. It's a really fun palette, and the formula is really great. Okay, so that's my wrap up of palettes. I try to include looks from the previous month with each of the palettes, but I didn't really get much of that or any of that unfortunately for last month, so I apologize for that. Again, it was kind of a weird month because I combined a lot of the palettes and there wasn't a lot of times where I just used one palette. The only one that I really did that with was this one right here, and I don't think that I got any looks really on camera, so it is what it is. But for the month of June, we are choosing a bunch of new palettes and I'm very excited. As a reminder, if I have already pulled in a palette, I think I decided twice already this year that I'm gonna pass over it, or if I pulled it in already in one of the recent months, that I'm gonna pass over it in this month if it gets chosen for us. So we'll see what happens, but we are starting off. So I have a minimum of 1, a maximum of 47. Let's see what our first palette is. 28. Oh, interesting. So this is a palette that I usually pull in more of in the fall time, but we'll see how much use I can get out of it this time of year. It is the Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette. This is one of the older palettes in my collection. If you're not familiar with what the inside looks like, this is what it looks like. Super neutral, but I do really like the shades in here. I do like the formula, at least I used to. I don't know the last time I used this, so it's a good thing it's getting rolled in now. All right. 34. Oh, wow. We're just going full OG today. We've got another classic palette chosen for us. This one right here, the Urban Decay Naked palette. This is the OG Naked palette. Here we have the inside. This will be nice because there's a lot of neutral warm tones, so I think I could get some nice pretty summer shades. I've also got a Super Shock shadow that I'm project panning, which I think I could pair some of these shadows with. That's really funny that these are the two first palettes that were chosen for us this month. 40. Okay, we're getting some color, a little bit. Okay, so palette number 3 is this one right here. This is the Juvia's Place Saharan 2 palette. We've got some giant pans in here, but we've got some good color. We got a couple of blues, some nice creamsicle colors, some really dark, juicy matte colors up here. I haven't used this too much. This is probably one of the most least used palettes in my collection. I'm excited to have it. I'm excited to use it. We got 2 more left, all right. 43. This is the ColourPop Magnetic palette, which I just had in last month, so we're gonna choose another one. 11. So 11 is one I feel like I might have had in recently. Let me take a look real fast. Okay, so no, this one hasn't been pulled in for us yet, and I'm pretty excited to have this pulled in because I think this is gonna give us quite the array of shadows, and it is this palette right here, the Kathleen Lights and ColourPop So Jaded palette. If you haven't seen the inside, this is what it looks like. We've got a lot going on here. My best friend got this for me. I think it was for my birthday last year. It might have been for Christmas. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was my birthday though. I mean, my birthday is in June, so this is kind of the perfect time to be pulling this in again. We've got a lot of shadows to work with in here, and yeah, I'm excited. So that is our second to last palette. We have one more to pull in, so let's see what it is. 36. Ooh, do I want to bring this one in? I did have this in a couple of months ago, so let me take a look at it. I might pass over this one and hope it gets pulled for us later this year. Yeah, okay, so number 36 is the Shared Planet Polar Bear Collection eyeshadow palette. I love this, but I did recently pull it in one of the, already this year once. So we'll pass over it now and hope that it gets chosen for us later this year. But let's do one more. 40. 40 was the Saharan 2 palette. 29. Oh, okay. We started out with the Too Faced palette and we are ending with the Too Faced palette. This one right here, the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. This one's actually pretty perfect for summertime. This time of year is when I would have chosen to bring this in. So that's pretty exciting. And it still smells like peaches. Very nice. All right, we've got quite the array of eyeshadow palettes here. We have some OG palettes, we have some classics, some fan favorites, so I'm pretty excited. I may or may not pull in another eyeshadow palette. I don't think that I will. I think that I might just stick to these 5 because we've got a lot of shadows to work with here, and then I do still have my Project Pan eyeshadow palette and shadows, so I think that this will be good. This is quite the grip of eyeshadow palettes. As I mentioned, I will be doing a Shop My Stash next on my channel, so if you don't want to miss that, consider subscribing. I will be pulling in a lot of new makeup to use for the month of June. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up, and if you want to subscribe to not miss future content from me, don't forget to do so before you go. All of those buttons are right down below, and I think that is everything I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.